Hello, hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us for this awesome session today. I'm pretty stoked. There are quite a few people who have RSVP'd to join today's office hours, and I think it may be the topic. Let's see here. A couple things to keep in mind. Today, we're going to be focused on showing you how to build a sales one pager in minutes. Now, there are a variety of reasons, which I'll hand over to Justin to dig in from the product marketer's perspective, but also from the sales perspective. Both Justin and I have been salespeople in our past lives and have felt the issues around this on both sides. A couple things for you folks tuning in there. We'll give folks a couple minutes. If you do have any questions, comments, feedback, you don't like my hat, you don't like my sweater, or my vest or sweater. That's a sweater there. Miami Heat. We're doing pretty bad right now, so I'm hiding us. But go ahead and comment. You're probably watching this on LinkedIn or YouTube. And although we are going to wait towards the end of today's session to engage in Q&A and answer questions, if you do have any urgent questions or feedback, go ahead and just say, hey, this is urgent. I got to go and run to like grab a sandwich or something here during lunchtime or whatever, and we'll get to it right away. So there are some pretty unique things and some surprises that we have for you folks out there as well. Justin, why don't you take it away?
Yeah, no, I think this is a hot topic for any product marketer. It's so funny. The one consistent thing that I see among product marketers is this sort of like this, I wouldn't say hate, but like this dislike for one pagers, right? It's almost like a meme when you talk about the product marketing role. It's like, being asked to build these one pagers constantly from the sales team, right? And these one pagers, I think the reason why people dislike them is because number one, they're constantly asked, and I was there, right? I was a product marketer, and I was a product marketer, solo product marketer, supporting a sales team that was growing as we raised our Series B, right? From about 5 salespeople to about 20 salespeople. And I was getting constantly asked every day for a new one pager, right? A new one pager around a new product or a specific feature or a new use case or a new industry, right? And it could take weeks for me to turn these around. I was working with freelance designers. It could take 2 to 3 weeks for me to get a one pager back to the sales team. And again, I was working with a freelance designer, so it could cost $1,000 per one pager, right? And then, what I would find is that I'd send these things over to the sales team. They were PDFs, right? And I'd be surprised at the usage of these things. It would be so low, right? And I'd be sort of dumbfounded because they asked for it, right? They were constantly asking for it. And obviously I'd then ask the salesperson, hey, why aren't you using this one pager? You asked for it. And the general feedback that I got was, listen, this speaks to our general audience. But my specific buyer cares about this particular part of this, or this is their need, or this is their persona, and it doesn't really speak exactly to what they need, right? And it kind of got me to this place where I was like, man, how am I going to solve this, right? I can't create one pagers for every single instance that my sales team is in, right? Every single deal. And that's ultimately what actually sparked the idea of Asset Mule, where we're actually enabling that, right? So I think that's kind of the reason why maybe there was some interest in this conversation today, is that this is a pain point that seems to happen with a ton of product marketers out there. And today we're going to actually walk you through how you can use Asset Mule to create one pagers literally in minutes without needing any designers or developers, and for these assets to actually be personalizable, so that your sales team can swap in different quotes or different value props or stats or images if you want them to, right? So there's some controls that you can put around that as well that we can show you. And that these assets that you're going to create are also going to be interactive, right? They can include video and interactive demos and calendars for driving conversions, right? So they're actually going to be even more effective than those PDF one pagers that, again, take weeks and that we dread sort of the request for. So that's what we're going to be covering today. Before we dive in, George was mentioning we have some surprises. So if you're not able to stay for the full time today, I wanted to mention that we just had a Cyber Monday offering that expired last night, and it was a really, really great offering. It was for 80% off Asset Mule for your first 3 months. So that makes Asset Mule just $10 a month for your first 3 months. And we've decided to extend it for another day. So expiring tonight, or today at midnight Pacific time. So if you like what you see today and you want to give Asset Mule a try, we do have a free forever tier, so you can try that out. But if you want to expand your asset capacity to the 50 assets and get some of the features that are in the Pro, you can use this our discount code Cyber Monday, all capital 2024 at the checkout, and you'll get 80% off for your first 3 months. So really, easy to test this out for yourself and make sure that it provides value. But we'll mention that again at the end. But without further ado, let's just dive in and take a look at this. And I'm going to actually walk through 3 tips that will help you build these assets in minutes, right? So for those that aren't familiar with Asset Mule, that's what we do. We help you create sales assets in minutes without needing any designers or developers. And these assets are actually interactive and personalizable, right? Meaning they're interactive, meaning that you can include videos and interactive demos and all kinds of interactive elements to drive engagement with your buyers, but also to track their activity on the pages. And they're personalizable in the sense that we have this concept of snippets that I'll talk about, where you can create alternative quotes and stats and imagery and messaging that you can use to speed up the process of building these one-pagers, which I'll show you again, but also your sales team can use to personalize the assets, the one-pagers in this case, but with pre-approved content. So again, we'll get into all of that, but let's start with the 3 tips that will help you create sales assets or a one-pager in minutes. And the first is to use one of our templates that we have in our template library, right? So you'll see when you log into your Asset Mule account and you go to the templates page and the Asset Mule sort of setting here or section, you'll see a bunch of templates that you can use. One pagers, and we'll go through some of those today, but even things for templates for outbound and follow-up and event follow-ups and case studies and competitive comparison pages and sales decks and proposals. You'll see we're constantly building out this library. And the first tip is to use one of these templates to really speed up that process, right? So if I wanted to use this one-pager with video here, I could just copy this version here and now make it my own. And when I say make it my own, I don't mean just adding my content to this template. So I'm not tied to the structure of this template. I can, actually adapt and build from this template. So I can move sections down, I can move sections up, I can delete sections, I can add new sections, as you'll see here with our different components. And I'll describe what some of these things are. But again, this is a really great way to really speed up the process, right? Instead of starting from scratch, use one of our templates and adapt from there. So that's the first tip that I'll give you today. The second tip is to create a brand theme in Asset Mule so that anytime you create a new one page or a new sales asset, your brand colors and your fonts are automatically applied to the template from the get-go, right? And you'll see we have our brand theme here, Asset Mule V2. You can create many different themes, and it's also really easy to create a theme. All you have to do is enter a website URL, and we'll grab colors and fonts from your website and give you that as a starting point that you can then build upon to create your own brand theme. So I'll just give you an example. If I were to put HubSpot.com here and click create theme, you'll just see in a matter of seconds, now we have the brand colors from HubSpot. We have the orange, the gray, and it's a good starting point. You may want to adapt this and make it a little bit more sophisticated, and that's pretty easy as well. But again, that's a really great way to speed up your process here without needing any designers. And as I'll show you in terms of adapting it. So let's go to the theme section right now. And I'll actually delete that HubSpot one and show you our Asset Mule one here. You'll see when I first put assetmule.ai, our URL in here, Asset Mule pulled 3 colors. So it pulled, I think, this black maybe the dark purple here, and maybe the white. And what I did was I added some additional colors that I know make up a brand theme to the palette here just by entering the codes, right? Just adding a color and entering in the code. And now that I have all these options of colors, the next step is to create 5 brand styles. And styles are essentially a background color with a corresponding font color and 3 accent colors. So you'll see using the colors that I included in our palette, I just go through each style and I choose the background color, right? I choose the font color and I choose the accent colors. And I've done that for my 5 different styles. And then next, if I, want to adapt the fonts that it pulled automatically, I can do that here. I can choose something else. So I sort of make any adjustments to the fonts. And then finally, I save the theme. And then that's how, when I go to that template that I was building, and again, we choose the Asset Mule V2, that's how my brand colors are automatically pulled in here. And you'll see now that I have my brand colors pulled in, my theme pulled in, on the right-hand side of each section, we have those section settings where I can apply those styles that I set up very, very easily here and make any adjustments that I want. But that really will speed up the process of creating these one-pagers. And you'll see you can use some more sophisticated design things here, like increasing and decreasing padding, or one of my favorite things to do is to add background images to really up-level the design. So you'll see you can just upload a background image to a section, and it really takes things to the next level in terms of the design of that section. And then you can also do things like, obviously start populating your content into the template, like adding your logo. And again, we try and make this super easy where you just put in a website URL here, and we can find you logos that you can just pull in here. And again, you can make easy adjustments here, like maybe reducing the size or inverting, the color and so on. But again, it should be super easy for you to pull these things in. If we don't find a good logo, you can obviously upload a logo instead. But again, the idea here is to make this super quick and easy for you. So that's the second tip, is get that brand theme set up so that every time you create a new template, your colors are automatically applied, and you're already getting a head start, right? You don't need to think about design and colors and all that stuff. It's all applied to the template. And now the third and final tip that I'll walk you through, and this is going to be the point where I'm going to actually show you how I can do this in, let's say, 5 minutes, right, is snippets. So I kind of mentioned them a little bit earlier, but you'll see, as you add content to what we call components in Asset Mule, right, any of these sort of objects that you can put content in, like this is a paragraph component, and this is a video component, and these are, this is a logo grid component. So as you're adding content into these areas, you can start saving them as what we call snippets, which are reusable blocks of content. And you can do this as you're building your templates, but you can also do this in the snippets page of your Asset Mule account. You'll see it here, where you can, for any snippet type, let's say a quote, you can go ahead and create that quote, let's say test, give it a name, maybe add some tags so that they're easy to find, and then save it, and then it becomes part of your snippet library that you can pull and use from in the future. And that, as I mentioned, has kind of 2 use cases. One use case is speed of building out these one-pagers, and I'll show you that in a moment. The second use case is if you want your sales team to be able to personalize these assets, but with pre-approved contents, they can use the snippets to swap out alternative elements. But today's focus is on speed. So let's see how fast I can build this one-pager using those snippets. And by the way, I know that you won't always have snippets for everything that you're looking to put into a new one-pager, but let's say at least 50%, if not more, of the content is going to be reused stuff. Even if you're launching a new product and you're going to create a new value statement and put a new video in here, the logo strings, the quotes, the stats that your customers are, of results that your customers are experiencing, and things like that are going to be reusable things. So that's going to speed up the process. And again, the way that you do it here is you access the component settings by choosing the icon that represents that component, and you'll see this snippet section here. And this is where you can save snippets as well from a template. But once you have those snippets in here, you can just filter by those tags. So in here, I'm going to want to find a value statement. So I'm going to filter by value, and I can just pull that value statement that I want to use in here. Same thing with video. I'm going to pull in a demo video here. And then maybe as I move down, I'm going to remove this and just say trusted by. And then I'm going to pull in some of our logos here, customer logos. And then I'm going to say, what you can do with Asset Mule. And now I'm going to highlight some features. So I'm going to go again to the snippets, and I'm going to filter by features. And we have a lot of tags in here just for demo purposes. So it's a little messy. Hopefully yours will be a little cleaner. But let's choose some features to highlight. So I'm going to do build sales assets from a library of templates. And then I want an image. So again, I'm going to filter by feature. Where is it there? And I'm going to find that library image. And then keeping going down, I'm going to then grab this image here. And next, I'm going to talk about our snippets and personalizing. So I'm going to pull that in. Again, features. There we go. And let's see, personalize while staying on brand. Perfect. Next one, maybe I want to talk about our interactive elements that you can add in here. So I'm going to do engage buyers with interactive content, and I'm going to pull the image to go with that. And then, as I mentioned, you can build to this too. So I may want to highlight another feature. So I'm going to add a 2-column section. I'll do an image on the left and a paragraph on the right. And again, this one, maybe I want to do tracking or, track views. So I'm going to do the image there. And then again, find the feature descriptions here and find the one, get intent signals, right? And again, I can do some quick design stuff here. Perfect. I'm just adding some padding to the bottom. Now going down, so these are our differentiators. So what makes Asset Mule different? And I have some differentiator statements that I've saved in here too. So let me filter by differentiators. There we go. And I'm going to do create. As you see, it's pulled in here. I'm going to do personalize, and I'm going to do track, right? And then now I have a space for a quote. I have tons of great quotes in here. I want to do one from a product marketer. And I'm going to do Fiona here because it's relevant to our conversation today about how designers, freelance designers can cost a lot and take weeks, and you can do it in minutes with Asset Mule. And finally, actually, I'm going to add something to this one as well. So I'm going to change the color there. I'm going to add another. I want to make it easy for my prospects or my sales team's prospects to convert. So I'm going to do a header here, and I'm going to do schedule your demo today. And let's make that bold, make it smaller, make it the background black. And I'm going to reduce the padding here because what I'm going to do is add my calendar or a space for the salesperson's calendar below that using our embed code component here. So let's do that. And a little bit of padding on the bottom. And again, I've saved these as snippets. So I'm just going to pull in the calendar for, in this case, it's myself, but you can pull in for your salesperson here. And now, as you can see, that took just a number of minutes, I think hopefully about 5 minutes. And now we have a template, a one-pager, a new one-pager that's ready to use. So I'm going to go ahead and call this the 5-minute one-pager. And I'm going to save it in our account. And now, if we go to the templates page, you'll see the preview takes about a couple seconds to load here. But now when the sales team comes in here, right, they're going to be working from the team tab, all the templates that you've built for them. Now they have this new one-pager that they can use to start creating and personalizing assets from. So what they're going to do is create an asset from this and maybe do those last mile bits of personalization, right? Maybe their prospect is LinkedIn here. So they're going to go ahead and put in LinkedIn's logo here just by getting putting in the URL, grabbing the logo. And maybe most of the rest looks pretty good. Actually, you know what? These are smaller companies. LinkedIn's a big tech company. Let's pull in some big tech companies, right? So that we can really, show them who we're working with that's similar to them, right? And then finally, let's say that this quote is not the one that the salesperson wants to use. They can go ahead and maybe they still want it from a product marketer, but they want a different quote. let's pull in that one instead, right? So you can see how they can personalize from these one pagers, hopefully driving up the usage, right? Because again, now they can make it relevant for their prospect. And now when they're ready, they can go ahead and give this a name. Let's call it Asset Mule for LinkedIn. They're going to save that asset. Maybe before sending it out, they can preview it. Just make sure the video looks good. Everything's looking good here. And then when they're ready to go ahead and share this with a prospect, they can do that as a link in a screenshot, or a link in an animated screenshot. This is really the best option here, and you'll see why in a second. So you click on that to copy it to your clipboard, or the salesperson will do that. And then they can paste it in to their email or into their sales outreach tool. And now they've got this beautiful sort of scroll through, and the prospect's going to engage with this, right? Because they're going to see it's personalized for them. It's got their logo, and it's got a video in there for them to check out. So from the prospect's experience, it's a live page, right? Dynamic page where it's personalized for them. It's interactive. They can watch the video, and they can sort of scroll through the rest of the content and then go ahead and book a meeting if they're using the Calendly or using the book a meeting button here. And what's awesome about all of this, again, is that everything is tracked by Asset Mule. And this goes back to driving usage with the sales team, right? Is when their buyers engage, they're going to get a email notification telling them, hey, somebody just viewed your Asset Mule for LinkedIn asset. But within Asset Mule, both you as a product marketer, but also the sales team, the sales rep, are going to be able to see everything that the buyer did on the page, right? They viewed the page, they watched the video, they clicked on the embed, which was a calendar, and then they booked the meeting, right? So there's that feedback loop, that those buying signals that, number one, are going to keep the sales team using these assets versus those sort of black box PDFs that, again, aren't personalizable, aren't trackable. This is really going to drive usage from them, but more importantly, it's going to drive engagement and ultimately conversions from the prospect because of those interactive elements and that easy way of converting to a book meeting with the calendar and the book a meeting button. So that's the quick sort of walkthrough today, and hopefully that gives you a sense of how you can build these things in minutes, literally. And there's 3 tips that we walked through just to remind you today. The first was to use the Asset Mule template library as a starting point, right? And copy one of these templates. You can adapt it from there, but that's going to give you, 80% of what you need. Let's say that other 10% is going to be setting up your brand theme and making one of your brand themes your default, so that as you're creating these, copying these templates to make your own, your brand colors, your fonts are already applied to it. And that's going to get you 90% the way there. And then if you populate your library with snippets, right? Quotes and logos and images, being able to pull from those is going to take you the rest of the way to building your one pagers in minutes. So I'm going to pause now, leave time for questions.
Awesome, everyone. Thank you so much. And a couple reminders here. First of all, thanks so much to Blue Flores for the comment and the discussion. Super excited to see all you folks on here. A couple things to keep in mind. You can absolutely sign up to Asset Mule for free. So we have a freemium model. We are adamant about always adding with value and letting the product speak for itself. And if it adds value and allows you to accomplish your goals, awesome. If not, we'd love to know why and how we could constantly get better. So I know there was a question about that. Someone had DM'd as well. And a couple things. Again, right now, just as a reminder, we are offering the Cyber Monday. I hate to be salesy. I don't want to be salesy. I don't want to be like one of those QVC kind of things, but I do want to just remind folks, because it's awesome, right? You can literally, again, you can use Asset Mule for free, get complete access to all the functionality, etc.
It's worth noting, George, right, what the difference is between the free and the paid. So as George mentioned, you get all the functionality in the free. So absolutely sign up for that. And you can create as many templates and snippets, and you have as many users as you want. The only difference is the number of live published assets that you have in your account, right? So with the free, you get 3 live assets. It's great to create your first asset out there and test it out and get a feel for it. But once you want to sort of start using this live and out there in the world and enable your sales team with it, you're going to need more than 3 live assets, right, at any given time. So the first paid tier starts at 50 live assets for $50 a month. And then you can add buckets of 50 from there for $25 a month. And as we mentioned with the Cyber Monday deal, you're getting 80% off for your first 3 months. So that takes it from $50 a month to just $10 a month for your first 3 months. So that's the difference over there. And that's sort of the gist of the Cyber Monday deal. Goes through midnight Pacific time today. As George said, we don't like being salesy here, but we also, if you think this is valuable, we want to make it really easy for you to experience that value. And that's why we have the freemium. And that's why we wanted to take this opportunity to allow you to try it out there in the world, right? In the wild, with a really low cost starting point.
I got to ask Justin, myself, and you, just given that you and I are very similar in our not wanting to be a salesy type of person. How did we close so many deals in our past career? Right?
I think it is because of not being salesy. And before I answer that question, I forgot one key thing is you use the code at the checkout. So I'm going to show my screen right now because a couple of people got confused about this. In the last day or so. So, anytime at your account, you can click on the upgrade button or the live asset count, or even your profile here. But let's say the upgrade button here takes you right to the billing page, and you won't see it here. But when you click, I think ours says update, but originally it will say upgrade. It will take you to a Stripe checkout page where you can put in your credit card details, and that's where you will put in the code, the Cyber Monday code. But going back to your question, George, I think it's because we're not salesy, right? I think at least in my case, I always I was very curious about our customers and the challenges that they're experiencing, and really intent on focusing on solving those problems and helping them experience value. And I think that's what, a salesperson in my mind is more like a guide, right? A person that will help you sort of identify the problem that you're experiencing and try and bring the right solution to solve it, right? And paying for the solution is a consequence of it, but I think the consultative approach is the way to go, and the human caring part, not the pushy sales part, I think is what separates some of the better salespeople out there.
Yeah, that also reminds me of this idea that's been talked about a lot over the last 2 years or so. What's interesting, and just to reference 2-3 years, we've been going through sort of an evolution of the SaaS space, and it's just not specific to software, but certainly software has seen the impact, I think, probably the most of all industries, at least from my perspective of what I've seen. But you've heard people talk about you can't just back into your standard, I'm going to go through my sales motion and click fields in the CRM and just go through my steps and again, go through the motions. You have to care. You have to be an expert. And I think that's, as I've heard you sort of articulate your ideas or your feedback around my question, I can't help but think of how excited I was always throughout my career carrying a bag. And sure, I wanted to hit my quota or whatnot, but I was more excited about doing something innovative and selling some cool software. I didn't grow up in Silicon Valley, eventually moved there and lived there for a while, and I'm very grateful for my time there. I didn't come from a family who understood technology. My dad's a former monk, psychologist, right? My mom's an artist, right? So we didn't think technology. So when I was introduced to this world, I was fascinated. And, it's been 20 something years now later and still am. So I think for me, I wasn't the most articulate. I didn't follow all the rules and hit all the, my BANTs and whatever other acronyms around strategies that I had learned over the years all the time. But I did care and I was passionate. And so for the folks out there, I think, hopefully that resonates, because I think no matter what we do, we want to be passionate, motivated, and inspired by what we do. And when we don't do that, people can feel it, and I think ultimately we want to enjoy our day to day. So we'll leave with that. I know we're about a minute over. Thank you so much to Blue for signing up and checking out the technology. We would love to keep in touch within our Asset Mule user community and Slack channel. So I know you were added to that. Thanks for the, again, for all of that. For you folks out there that have not signed up to Asset Mule and want to check it out, again, it's completely free. Yes, we have this Cyber Monday deal extended, but again, as Justin and I had mentioned a couple of times, you can just absolutely check it out for free. No strings attached, no credit card, nothing. You can go in there and test it out. If you're an existing user, thank you so much. We very much appreciate it. And also, if you like our content, we do these office hours every Wednesday. There might be some exceptions around certain holidays or whatnot, but we do these all the time at 2 o'clock Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific. We also share a lot of content, podcasts. I mean, we're constantly doing research and creating content to be able to serve you, product marketers, go-to-market professionals, salespeople, leaders, to hopefully do our jobs better and with a smile on our face. So without further ado, have a wonderful, wonderful Wednesday. Happy holidays, and hope to see you all soon.